Hello, my name is Debbie, OwlandGatorStitcher. Welcome to Flosstube number 23. Today is Sunday, November 28th, 2021. This is a video mainly about cross stitch, sometimes about what I'm reading and watching and life thrown in. So if you're new here, welcome. I hope that you like what you will see. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. Before I jump into the cross stitch, I just want to wish a happy Thanksgiving to everyone here in the United States. I hope that you had a good holiday. I was really fortunate. My brother and his family came to visit. It's the first time that I've seen my sister-in-law and my nieces in over 2 years. So it was really lovely to spend time with them, and my parents joined us as well. And so it's just been a really fun, long weekend. In fact, the festivities are still going on, but they're all out going to a basketball game, and my husband and I decided not to go. So I'm going to take advantage of this quiet time to film this video. For those of you who are observing Hanukkah, happy Hanukkah to you as well. So this video is going to be a little bit different than my other videos. I want to talk about my plans for 2022. So I'm not going to show you progress on my existing projects. I'm going to save that for my next video. Instead, this time I sort of want to give you some thoughts about what I have, some thoughts about what I plan to do in 2022. But before I get to that, I had a giveaway in my last video to celebrate 500 subscribers. So thank you to everyone who watches me every time I post a video. So I have two patterns that I was giving away, and before I started this video, I did the random comment picker, and the winners are, so the first one for this one called Snowy Winter from Little House Needleworks, and this is the pattern. So the winner is MS Beach Girl. So you can send me an email at OwlandGatorStitcher@gmail.com, or you can DM me on Instagram. I'll have all my contact information in the drop-down box below. And the second pattern I was giving away from Teresa Kogut, Old Saint Nick. There's the pattern again. And the winner of that is Christy Martin. So congratulations to Christy Martin and MS Beach Girl. Again, please drop me a line, send me your address, and I will get these in the mail to you as soon as possible. So with that, I want to talk a little bit about my 2022 plans. If you've been watching my videos for any length of time, you know that I have been participating in No New Starts 2021, and that has been a lot of fun. And they basically have one sort of category this year in which you could not do any new starts, although you had a freebie. And I used my freebie up, I think, in February. I knew what I was going to do, and I was going to do the Sense and Sensibility piece for the Stitching Book Club. And I started that, and actually, not only did I start my freebie, it was my first finish of 2021 as well. And since then, I haven't started any other pieces this year. I have had a chance to really work on a lot of my existing projects and get progress on them. I was a monogamous stitcher until the fall of 2019, and I just worked on one piece at a time. I was doing a lot of full coverage, and I was working really a job that was 40 plus hours every week, usually a lot more than 40, and so my stitching time was limited. And because I do a lot of full coverage, it could take me years to get a project done. So that is the last piece that I worked on, mostly monogamously. That is Graham Teton, I think, from Mystic Stitch. But then summer 2019, I discovered Flosstube and realized you could do multiple projects at once. And concurrently with that, I worked on a much smaller piece and finished both of those in the fall of 2019. And when that happened, I just went crazy, and I was starting new projects, 1 or 2 a month. Many of them were full coverage. And when I decided to join No New Starts in 2021, at the end of 2020, I also did a lot of new starts as well. So I went into the year with, I believe, 41 projects. And my next video, I'll show you my progress on where I was on all of those. But going into 2022, I wanted to do things a little bit differently. I enjoyed No New Starts. I enjoyed focusing on certain projects. But at times I did feel constrained. Now, the world would not have ended if I started more projects and dropped out of that challenge, but I like to put up rules for myself, and so I didn't start new things. And sometimes that was good because there's always a stitch along that seems really great when it starts, and then everyone starts it at the same time, and then it sort of fizzles out and there's not a lot of interaction, or the project isn't really speaking to me. And so it was good not to sort of be drawn into that, not, sort of not have that passing fancy. It was like something, you know, it's like the cookie that's sitting on the counter. It might be enticing now, but, you know, 3 weeks from now, it's not looking so good. So it was good to have that. But where I felt a little bit constrained was I went to a retreat and there was an exchange, smalls exchange rather, and I didn't have a chance to, you know, I didn't have a chance to stitch anything for that because I didn't have anything that matched the theme of the exchange. And that I felt a little bit constrained because I do love looking at all the smalls exchanges and sort of what people do for other people, as well as an opportunity to do something to give to someone else. And so I decided, what am I going to do in 2022? Because they said it's going to be a little bit different. And this year, that Facebook group, they now have 3 categories. They have a true no new starts, which means you start nothing. They have something, a focus at 22 whips in 2022. And they also have work your whips, which is a little bit more flexible, which is not start all the things, but you can earn new starts if you finish something, or you can, you know, or like there's period, like if you do your updates that you're supposed to, then you also earn free starts. And I thought about, well, what do I want to do? And I have more than 22 projects on the go, and we'll have a lot more than that at the end of this year. And so I said, I don't want to constrain myself. I could pull 15 and say, these are the 15 I'm going to work on. But then I would really feel, even if I don't put a lot of stitches into some of my other projects, I felt that I would have been a little bit constrained by that. And so I said, okay, I like that idea, but a lot of my projects are full coverage, or they're very large pieces, and they're not something that I can realistically get done just to pop something else in there. And so I didn't want other things that I had started just to sit there and not get any love. And I decided, okay, I'm just going to do work your whips. That way I have some limits on myself, but I also have the opportunity to start things and yet remain actively in the challenge. So that's the group that I'm doing. I've started setting up my albums that I need to do in that Facebook group. If that sounds interesting to you at all, I encourage you to go to Facebook and check out. It's called No New Starts 2022. I am not an admin or moderator for that group, but I think it's fairly straightforward if you answer their questions. And once you get in the group, if you're not entirely sure if it's for you, you ask questions and see what other people are doing, and decide if it's someplace that you want to be. What they do not want in that group are people who lurk. So they want you to be participating in one of the 3 challenges. And if you are not doing it, they want everyone to be very active in that group. And active for them is about 1,500 stitches a month, or I can't remember how many hours, but it's not, I think 15 hours. So for most of us people who are passionate about stitching, that really is not a problem. Even if you are a full-time job and you have little kids at home and all of that, most of us who are passionate about this craft manage to carve out enough time to hit those goals. So in addition to that group, there are a few other groups that I belong to that sort of motivate my, sort of direct me, let's put it that way. First one I'm sure many of you are familiar with. It's called WhipGo. And I participated in WhipGo this year, and I have hit every time box has come up, I have hit my goals. Excuse me for a moment. I have hit my goals on that. And so I assume I will do the same in December. So I will have a blackout on my WhipGo come the end of December. And I had a lot of fun. I for almost every project, it was 1,000 stitches, and it was just something to say, okay, here's a good project to focus on for the month, get your stitches in. I average between 15 and 20,000 stitches a month right now. I am retired, and so I do have a lot of stitching time to be able to focus on doing things like that. So WhipGo is just one of the groups that helps me sort of direct my stitching. So this is my WhipGo board for 2022. And basically in almost every box I have either a full coverage or a very large project. So the ones that are, for example, I'm going to have to pull here. For example, I have in here like the box number 25 down here in the corner. That Simple Little Big Love. It's, I would say, a large piece. It's not full coverage by any means, but it's relatively large, and so my goal for that is 1,000 stitches. So again, on almost every piece, my goal is 1,000 stitches. The only one that I put in 2,000 stitches is Cats in the Toy Box. that was my focus piece for 2021. It still will continue to be my focus piece for 2022 with a slight addendum. And that addendum is, I also want to finish High Intensity by Artisy. And in order to finish that, I will calculate at the end of the year how many stitches I have to get done per week. Right now it's about 650, but I am going to put some good time into it in December, and hopefully I will be able to get that number down. Okay, sorry for the little bit of a cut there. I had to hit pause for two reasons. One, the cat can't decide if she wants to be in or out of the room. And so when she's out of the room, she sort of is shaking the door. And when she's in the room, she is doing strange things. But anyhow, I took advantage of that little pause to deal with the cat to show you the projects I'm talking about. So this is High Intensity by Artisy. This is the cropped version. And here is where I am now. So I'm a little, I don't know, maybe 19% or so done right now. But this is one of my smallest full coverage pieces. It has fewer than 50,000 stitches. And it's something I do not want, while I can hit all my full coverages equally, I do want to start seeing some finishes. I did not have any full coverage finishes this year. And so I want to start knocking those out as I get more progress on them. And then the other one that I'm sure if you've seen any of my videos, you've seen multiple times, is Cats in the Toy Box. This is right now my second largest project. It will drop down as I start a few big ones at the end of this year. But this is where I am on that. So this the top is actually sort of buried in here. You can see I have quite a bit of this done already. If I'm not at 40%, I'm very, very close to 40% done on this. It is about 150,000 stitches, so it is a lot to do. Even if I made it my focus project next year, I would probably have to do that to the exclusion while others do get a finish on that. So it will be my primary focus next year. I would love to get it to about 75%, and then make a push in 2023 to get it finished. But for now, it's just one I want to sort of make my focus. And whenever there's like, hey, you need to get thousands of stitches on a project this month and something, one of the challenge groups, that's a great one to pull out. And I tend to work on it every evening. So those are a couple of the plans that I have for that. And that's sort of my WIPGO. And then just a couple of fun boxes I put in my WIPGO. So this one here, this little box here, I have here, get it finished. And what I wanted to do is that most of my WIPGO pieces are fairly, almost all of them are, if they're not BAPs, they are large projects. And so I feel reasonably confident that they will not get done in 2022. They might get close to finished. And if, if one is close to finished, but it's still a WIPGO goal, I might just hold on to it until the WIPGO number comes up so I can hit that. But I also have some smalls, and because I'm always like, I have to get more progress on these big projects, some of my smalls, or what I consider small, they might be medium projects, they tend to get neglected a little bit. And so I put get it finished. And so whenever that gets called, I'm going to pick up a project that is relatively close to being done, and I'm going to finish it. And if for some reason I don't have anything that's close to being finished, I'll still work on a project, and then I just won't be able to color in that box. The other sort of fun one I put in there is spin the wheel. Yeah. Spin the wheel here. So what I will do for that is I have all of my projects loaded into the Tiny Decisions app on a wheel, and from time to time I randomize what I'm working on. Some people do arbitrary August. I haven't done that, but we periodically in the new starts, they have something which they call a whip frenzy, where you have to try and put 100 stitches into as many projects in a 24 or 48 hour period. And so I will spin the wheel and put my 100 stitches, pick the projects that way. And that's a great way to touch things that I haven't perhaps touched in a while, and just sort of bring things back to the forefront. I often find that when I pull things out that I haven't worked on for a while, I fall in love with them all over. And then the sort of last unique thing I did was my center block. So Jessie Marie Does Stuff, who created WIPGO and is the moderator for the Facebook group. This is a free space for her because she draws 2 numbers a month, and then for, and then if that's box number 13, if that number gets drawn, she draws a third one. So it's, but what I decided to do, it's a free space, but if for some reason I don't hit one of my goals in a month, I can go back and finish that goal if that free space is called. Some people have annual goals on WhipGo, and that's the way they choose to do it, and that's great. I choose to do them bi-monthly. So if I have 1,000 stitches on something and for some reason I don't hit 1,000, that's okay, but it means I won't color in that box and I don't go back and say, okay, I've finished it now. So that's sort of my chance to go back and maybe color in a box that for some reason I wasn't able to do it. That's just the way I like to do it. There is no prizes given out for WhipGo. It's you create your goals, you create your own prizes, and that's just the way I like to do it. The other group that another annual group that I belong to is called Letters of the Month, and this year it went from A to Z, and you take 2 letters every month, and then obviously that gives you 24 letters. There's 2 letters you exclude, you choose the letters. This year I excluded U and X, and I will be excluding them again next year because you have to do a project that starts, you have to have a word in your project that starts with that letter, or it has to be a major motif on the project. And I don't really have anything with U or X, which is why I excluded them. And so here, and this year we went A through Z, or since they're British, you created it A through Z. And this year we're just starting at the bottom of the alphabet and going down. So you can see that I have Z at the top and it's going down. I did not necessarily choose the same projects as I did last year. I wanted to mix it up a little bit. Last year they also had it that every letter had to have a different project. This year, 2022, you're allowed to use a project multiple times, but you can't do them if the letters are consecutive. But nonetheless, I said, you know what, I still want to touch as many things as possible. So here's my list. And for the most part, I have patterns with those letters in the name. There are a few things like Q, where I don't right now have anything that has a Q in it. Maybe when my starts come up, I will. So like a tug of war, which is a little sparrow pulling on a string, a quilt string, has a quilt in it. So that's the Q. And so I also have pulled into both this and to WhipGo some of the planned new starts that I have for 2022. And then as always in 2022, I belong to various challenge groups, and those groups that have prompts, that will also help direct my stitching as well. But what I try to do is I think what a lot of people do with the double dipping is that if there's a prompt, you try and say, okay, well, can my WhipGo pieces fit this prompt? Like this year, Magical Stitches, one of them was to stitch on something that has multiple cats. Well, being the cat lady, not only do I have a project with multiple cats, I have multiple projects with multiple cats. And so, but Cats in the Toy Box is my focus piece, so that was really easy to draw that one in as well. But now what I want to do is sort of show you my planned starts, and then as well as some other ideas I have. So I think I have 5 or 6 projects that, and yes, I'm doing no new starts, but I believe in the middle of December, it officially ends. And then they're doing what they're calling the 12 days of Christmas, but it's more than 12 days, where you can start projects. Like the group has officially ended. And so you have, if you are participating in New Starts 2022, you have between mid-December until December 31st to start as many as you want, and you can put those into your plans for 2022. So I have 5 or 6 projects that I plan to start, and then after I show those to you, I will tell you what I plan to do for other ones. So, and I still have a lot of these in their plastic bags, so I apologize for the noise, but I didn't want to pull everything out ahead of time. So the first one that I definitely plan to start is One Nation by Bygone Stitches. I think many of you are familiar with this. Janet Jabber, I guess I believe it was 2020, maybe she finished it in 2021, but she was doing this, working on this every week. She would do 1 state and 1 star, which meant after 50 weeks, she would be done with it. And I've also seen the Lancashire Stitcher and others working on this as well. It's an older pattern. It's from, I think, 2010, so it's about 10 years old, but it's absolutely gorgeous in my opinion. And so I wasn't, I was going back and forth because obviously with what kind of fabric to use, and with the white lettering, you want to make sure that you have a fabric that is dark enough, but you don't want to go so dark then the blue of the blue on the stars section then fades as well. So I kept going through my stash over and over, and then when I was going through what other new starts I have, I was going through projects that I already kitted up. I found a piece of 36 count ale from Picture This Plus. That was actually the call for fabric, and the project I had planned to do on this just wasn't calling to me anymore. So I unkitted that project and I pulled out the ale, and that's what I'm going to use on for One Nation. My next start that I'm planning to do, and this actually I will show this project bag because it's one of the few real project bags I have, in Omnio Parentis. So I think for those of you who know Gilmore Girls, you're familiar with that expression. And basically this was from the Black Needle Society Autumn in Hawthorne Hollow box they did, which we all, I can't remember when I ordered it, but we got it in August. And I wasn't able to start it because of no new starts. But this is the pattern that was included in it. And there are going to be, you can order up to 4 boxes for this pattern. And so this is the autumn version of the pattern. And so I can't remember if this is like 92 by 92. Maybe it's a little bit different, but this is a square. And the other 3 seasons will be the same size as this. And they give on the back here, they show how you can line them all up. So what I've decided to do is I am going to do them as one long strip rather than do them as individual projects. And so this is the fabric I'm using. It's I believe it's a 28 count linen, if I remember correctly. I don't know where it came from. I got it from a D-stash from Michelle from Bendy Stitches. And it's, I don't want to, I've got it. I still have it on the comic board paper, and I don't want to take it off just yet. But it's a very long, thin strip, and she showed it when she did the D-stash, so I knew what I was getting. But when I got it, I started thinking, well, this is something I'm just going to cut up and do some smalls on it. But then when this project came out the way, in the shape that they had it, I thought this fabric is perfect, and it's the perfect size for it. So it will be a full coverage piece, but again, it's a sort of cream colored. It's not the most exciting color. So I'm really looking forward to starting this one. The next one that I have is another full coverage. I guess it's the first real full coverage I'm showing you. And this is Aria by Firelight by Tilton Crafts. So I've had this in my collection for quite a while. I do print out my PDF patterns, and I store them in binders if I'm not working on them, which is why I have the holes on this. And this is one I've always loved. This never had a real reason to start it, and then Hannah from Hannah Dowling on Flosstube, a few months ago, she said, hey, we're going to be doing a stitch along for this project starting. We're going to start it sometime in 2022, because at that time she was still participating in No New Starts. And I thought, I'm just going to jump on that bandwagon. So Hannah, I hope you're still doing it. But one way or another, I'm still going to start this because it's a beautiful picture. And I don't have anything quite like it going right now. And so for this, I'm just using a 22 count Ada, and I'll do 1/1 on that. Okay, and then my next piece that I have is I've really wanted to do a long dog for quite a while, and was looking for the right thing to do. And so every time someone pulls out their Anzac, I just love it. So I'm sure many of you are familiar with this pattern. And so I wanted, I've never used sulkies before, but I see how people, some people absolutely rave about them. And I thought, well, this would be a good thing to try a sulky on. I'm going to do on a monochromatic. So I actually got, I don't know how long ago, probably maybe it could be even 6 months ago, Sulky was having a really good sale. And so I bought this cone of sort of a royal blue color. The plastic's still on, so you're seeing some glare, but it is a solid. It's not, it is not variegated at all. So that's what I'm doing it, and I'm doing it on I'll do one strand on, it's just a 32 count Lugana. I'll do 1/2 for that. And then the last piece that I am definitely starting this year in December is Magic Steady, the rainbow version by RoseCon. I mentioned this, I think, in my last video. I had seen Magic Steady when it was a limited edition, and I don't think it's called the purple one. It was just called Magic Steady, and it had a lot of, but it was sort of very strong purple. And when Hay does limited releases, I think they're only out for a month. And I had seen it, I liked it, but then when everyone was stitching it, I just, I was sad that I had missed out. So when I saw the rainbow version came out, the first time Hay had a sale, I hopped on and I purchased it. So I have got this massive piece of fabric to do it on. This is a 25 count. So I will do this 1/1 on this 25 count. This will be a lifetime project because it will be my largest project. I believe that it's 775 by 574. So haven't done the math on how many stitches that is, but that is a whole lot of stitches. However you, whenever I do the math, sometimes I don't like to actually work out the area because it seems daunting. If I say, I will say until I did one full coverage that took me 4 years to work on, and then I actually did the math on figuring out the area and then multiplied it by 4 because that's the number of times you'd have to come up and, to do a single stitch. The number of times I stabbed the fabric. And and it's sort of like, I think that was maybe like 250,000 stitches. So that meant like a million times I put my needle through this fabric because I am a poke and stab person. I use now mostly Q-snaps. Sometimes I will use a hoop if it's a smaller piece. That will be more than 1 million times I go up and down through the fabric. So those are the only projects that I have that I am committed to starting in the second half of December. I have a lot of other projects that I have either fully kitted up or semi-kitted up. And what I mean by semi-kitted up is if a project calls for DMC, I do not go out and put DMC with every project. I did that for a while and I realized, I was spending a huge amount of money on DMC, and especially for smaller projects, you're talking about, sometimes there's only 50 stitches of a certain color, and some projects, they would have 30 colors, and so now I'm having to buy 30 skeins and I'm not using that much of it, and it was just sitting around. So I made a decision, I'm just going to have a master set of DMC and work from that. I know that there are from time to time with DMC color changes, but I am not terribly worried about that. I do have one piece, not this one, another one, and it's not a full coverage, and I finished up the skein I was using and started a new skein, and I could see a color difference, but that was only because I was looking for it. And I knew that I was finishing up an old skein and I had bought a new skein. So we're talking like 20 different years, 20 years between the two skeins. And the difference is so minor. And I just, and it was because it was initials. And so I did one letter and then another letter in the other one. If I had chosen just, to rip out that one letter and done the initials here, so it would have been like two different sides. I probably wouldn't have even noticed. And so my general attitude is I would rather spend my money on buying fabric and overdyed and patterns rather than just, individual skeins of DMC are not that expensive until you start adding them up. And, I would go to, kit up a project of full coverage at Joann's or Michael's, and it would be, I'd be spending $100 on floss, and then I realize it's just sitting there because it takes me so long to go through and do it. So a lot of these I've just purchased I have the pattern and I have put fabric against it. I tend not to buy fabric new. I'm sorry, I tend not to buy fabric specifically for a project unless I'm looking for a very specific color or a very specific size. And I belong right now to 3 Fabric of the Month clubs, and I get fat quarters from all of them, and so most of the time that works. And they're all beautifully dyed fabrics. Again, for my full coverages, I'm not going to use over dyed. I'm not going to spend money on hand dyed fabrics for some fabric that you're not going to see. But for others I do. And I just realized as I'm going through there, actually, I'll have to, when I get to it, I'll pull it out. I do have at least one more project that I know I am going to start. It's just not appearing in my box very well. So I will go, when I come to it, I'll tell you. So what I've done, I've also been really fortunate to win a number of giveaways from Flosstubers, and I really appreciate their generosity, and I want to work on those projects. And so what I'm going to do for the remainder of these, again, I'm just going to use the Tiny Decision app, and if I feel like a new start that day, I'm going to spin it, and if that comes up, I'm going to do that project. So some of these are that, and some of these are just patterns that I have purchased that are in my stash that I want to, either it was a kit and so it's already kitted up, or they are things that were gifts, or ones that I purchased and I just matched it with fabric that was in my stash. So the first piece, this was a giveaway from made by Michelle McGraw, and so this is the Morning Tree. So such a beautiful pattern. I mean, some ways it's a very simplistic design in that, you know, there's not a lot of, no floral border, not a lot of colors. I believe there are 4 colors in the entire pattern, and I think 2 of those are in the moon, so not all over the place, and then I think the rest is 310 and 3799. Some ways so simple, but this is such, I thought this was beautiful. I was really excited when I won that in the giveaway, and I am carrying that pattern with yes, this is Fortnite Fabrics, and it is called Black Truffle. And that is it's a 32 count even weave. So I think that's this fabric will give it such a lovely, just go really well with the theme, sort of the somber theme of this piece. The next I'm going to show, this is, I've seen, it's the book Home for the Holidays from Blackbird Design. Again, I think many of you are familiar with this book. Carol the Saltbox Stitcher has, when she does her videos, a lot of times she has a Christmas garden in behind her, and every time she would do her video, I would just stare at how beautiful it was. So I purchased this book that has it in there, and I'm just looking for the picture. Again, I think many of you are familiar with it. So that's what it looks like. There's a lot of this has initials in there, and I think the way that they did it was female relatives. But again, you can do what you want. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but lovely, lovely pattern. It does call for over dyes, so I have purchased those. Excuse me while I put my glasses to read the name of the fabric. Okay, yeah, this is Winter White from Saffron Fabrics. And this fabric, because this is a 32 count linen, and Christmas Garden wouldn't quite fit on a fat quarter 32 count. So I made a decision that this is a fat half, so I will have quite a bit of this left when I am done. Obviously I can salvage it and use it for another project. But it's something I would, for a project like that, I want to make sure I have enough room when it's over for framing. So I did that. So I'm going to purchase that. The next one I have is a Mirabilia that I purchased this year. It's called Starlet. So that beautiful, beautiful dress that she has. And this is not a hand-dyed fabric, but it's this nice lilac color. It's called Peaceful Purple from Witch Elt. So that's the fabric that I'm using. Okay, again, apologize for the crinkles, but if I don't put things back in the bags, I will have a mess. Okay, so the next one, and I'm not going to pull this out, but basically you can see this is a kit that I bought. It's from Al Forest Embroidery. It's Forest of Miracles, and I was a Russian major in college. I do speak Russian, and the way that the writing is on this pattern, it's a lot of beautiful manuscripts and stuff. I just love the way this pattern looks. I did purchase this pattern not directly from Al Forest, but through 1884 Stitchery. I was a bit sad that she said that she's no longer going to carry Al Forest, not because she doesn't love them, she does, but she feels now that enough people have access and they know about them, that they're just ordering directly from Al Forest Embroidery. And so I was happy when I had a chance to do that, because when I purchase something, I don't want to have to wait for, I don't mind waiting a couple of days for the shipping, but I don't, there are all the issues right now with mail coming from abroad. Things can get stuck in customs and all of that, and I just didn't want to deal with that. So I have another kit that I have from Al Forest Embroidery that I'm working on right now. I'm glad that I have a couple of them. This is it's a little ornament. It's a little Santa Claus. I got this from one of the inserts to the World of Cross Stitch. The next one that I have is this came as a kit. It's called the Gift of Peace. It's from Fern Stitch, and if I believe it's Heart and Hand, and I'm going to see who the other designer is. Heart and Hand and Bent Creek. So there's two pieces that you can do side by side. It was a kit, so it came with the linen as well as the threads, and which I think are mostly, if not all, Week Skyworks. And I got this from Bendy Stitchy's D-Stash. Next one is a cute little kit. It's a Bucilla kit. This is a little full coverage cross stitch called Afternoon Nap. Again, love my cats. Full kit, so all the threads and the fabric. And I won this in a giveaway from Koala at Cobweb Corner. Next one I have is a giveaway that I won from Seazook Stitch. Cute little pattern. It's called Princess Lily. It is in French. I do not speak French, but just really, really cute little pattern. And I am using this on, I am using a piece of pink fabric that I have. And it's just a plain pink from Witch Elt. This was a larger piece that I had cut off from another piece that I finished in 2019. So not an overdyed, just put a little light pink fabric that I think will go well with that piece. Okay. And the next one, and I've had this kitted up for a really long time and just have never gotten around to starting it. This is Summer Squirrel by the Blue Flower. I have in the past rhapsodized about how much I love the Blue Flower. This is the piece that I will do there. And I have this piece of gray fabric. I don't actually know who the dyer is. It's just this 32 count vintage gray. Obviously it's Zweigart based fabric. I don't think it's an overdyed. And it has some overdyes in it, which I purchased that go with it. And that one, I think I probably have had that kitted up for at least a year and a half. In 2019, for my Mania starts, I did a Tiny Decisions app as well to decide which starts I had a few planned starts, and then some of the other days that I started projects, I used the Tiny Decision app. That was in the running, and it never got called, and I have quite a few of those that'll come up. That's why it's been kitted for a while. Not because I don't love it, but it just hasn't risen to the top of a need to do, and yet wasn't on the getting called up. Next one I have is this is a Mirabilia, and I've heard it pronounced Titania. I would have said Titania, but Titania for some reason comes off the tongue more easily now. So this, I have this as a kit. So there is there's the picture, and it comes in this sort of brown fabric and all the flosses and the Krynex, and you can see the beads down there. And this is a kit that I won from Fortnite Fabrics. They used to do sort of, they weren't really live sales, but they would do sort of Facebook Lives, and they would periodically ask a question. If you were the first one to answer the question, you would get a giveaway. So I used to participate in that when I lived overseas. Even if I typed so quickly because of the time lag, I would never get it. So when I was in the United States, I was like, they asked a question, I don't even remember what it was, but it was something about the word condiment came up, and I just typed ketchup really quickly, and that was the correct answer. I didn't even know what the rest of the question was. I just came up with the first condiment I could think of. Anyhow, the next two, I will not, if for some reason both of these get called, I will not do both of them. I will put the other one to one side. These were both inserts to World of Cross Stitch, so two little different hedgehog patterns. I think they're both cards. I think they're both really cute. I just don't need to have two small hedgehogs going at the same time. Next one I would show you. This is from No New Starts. They periodically, a lot of the members have donated prizes to give away. And so at random times, if you've participated in some of their challenges, they will do a drawing. And so I have won those a couple of times. Sometimes you just get a raffle entry for the grand prize at the end of the year. But this was one of the prizes I got during the year. It's a Myrtle Grace motif, Singing to the Choir. So it's a cute little piece. That does have it on sort of a dark blue fabric, but I plan to do it on the Stitch Me 32 count Lagana called Stonehenge. So that's the background I will use for that. A nice sort of medium gray. Not quite a charcoal, but fairly dark. Okay. These next two I got from someone who I'm in a group, and part of it was send a birthday card to people. Most people include a skein of DMC in that, but she was incredibly generous, and she was destashing, and so she sent these are a couple small kits that she sent. These two really cute ones. Next one is from Stitching from Housewives. I won a PDF from them. So this one is Whipping Up Freedom, a cute little one. And the fabric that I am using for this, and I did want to try it on the black fabric, but neither my Joanne or Michael's had Black Ada when I went to them. So I ended up, and then I went to my LNS, which is Victorian Rose Needle Arts, and she had this beautiful 32 count. It's not really coming up. Called Timberwolf, which is a really dark gray. And I thought, they also do a lot of their things on chalkboard, and so I thought that would go really well with that. Okay. Next one, again, another one that I've had kitted up for quite a while. I also, in addition to the blue flower, I also really, really love Lindy Stitches. So this is, and I have this in a sleeve, another PDF I purchased. This is Merry Manatees. So it's a Christmas themed manatee, and I'm a Floridian, and I love manatees. They intrigue me so much, and they're such peaceful creatures. And so when I saw that, I had to do it. She's done it. There's a drum. So I needed a long, thin piece of fabric. I had done a Stitch for Sweet Freedom. I completed that in 2019. In 2019. It was a larger piece of fabric, so the remnants, and I measured it, and it does fit on this. So this is 32 count linen from Picture This Plus, and I believe the colorway is called Ariel. So cute little pattern. Okay. The next one, early in 2021. This one was certainly the belle of the ball, and I jumped on buying it as well. I think many of you are familiar with it. And this is Chester's Place from Whistle Stop Stitcher Designs. So in the quote, in case I'm not, until one has loved an animal, a part of one's soul remains unawakened. And I think many of you know the story that she made this pattern quite quickly because her sister had rescued a cat from a shelter, and it needed some pretty serious surgery, a couple $1,000s, and so she originally did this as a fundraiser. She raised all the funds so quickly, and then she put it back in her store. And at the time I purchased it, it was I think 50% of the profits from it went to support the shelter that the shelter where Chester came from. So this is the fabric I plan to do it on. This is 16 count Aida from Picture This Plus in the colorway Shale. And more Lindy stitches. And this is Beautiful Things. And again, oh my darling, it's true. Beautiful Things have dents and scratches too. Just a cute little pattern. Love the sentiment, love the design, and this little sort of fence with the post knocked down, and flower pot that's a little bit damaged, but I just think this is really pretty. I love it. And I am doing it on Fortnite Fabrics, 32 count even weave, shall not pass. So it's a mottled gray. Got a couple more for Lindy stitches. They're just all piled up here. And again, this is one that I had kitted up years ago for 2020 Mania. I didn't get called. I haven't come back. Whoops, and that is sideways. I forget the rest from Lindy stitches. And I have 32 count platinum for that. This might be my last Lindy stitches. I'm not entirely sure. Again, another one that I absolutely love called Emily's House. I probably will, instead of the 2 moons, I will do something else instead of one of the moons. But it says, speak for those who cannot speak. I have to put my glasses on again to read it. Speak for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. And she doesn't include the reference for that, but that is a psalm. Absolutely beautiful sentiment. And I have here, this is 32 count Wren from Picture This Plus, and it's a linen. Unless I say otherwise, I tend to use called for colors. I'm not very good at color substituting, so I will color substitute if I can't find a color, or if a color just doesn't strike me as the right thing, but I tend to either do the called for or the provided DMC conversion. Next one is from Whistle Stop Stitcher, and this is a freebie that she has. So it's one page. I'm going to hold it back here, although it's a freebie, and it says, "In the face of impossible odds, those who love their country can change it." And it only calls for 4 colors. I'm going to do it on this 32 count from Fortnite Fabrics, and I think it's called Honk. So beautiful mottled fabric. And that is a quote from Barack Obama. Okay, the next one I have is, as we all love our sloths, Tired Trio from Plum Street Samplers. I'm hoping that I'll get my Invisalign out next month and I'll be able to speak like a human being again. So this is Fiber on a Whim, Oh yeah, so this is the fabric that was actually in the Black Needle Society box for Gilmore Girls. So it's called, the fabric itself is called Presenting Lorelei Gilmore. But again, I would rather have a beautiful fabric like this show up in the pattern and not be used on a full coverage. So I'm not using, so that's why I rehomed it to another project. The next one I have is the Trans Pride Tapestry. I believe the artwork is by Kari Bakken, and it was charted by D20 for cross stitch. So this came out this summer for Trans Pride, and I will be doing it on this lovely lilac fabric. There we go, and this is from the Stitch Me. It's 32 count Lugana, and it is called Anemone. Okay, it's one of those words that, you know, have to take a deep breath before I say it. So a lovely sort of mottled lilac fabric. I've been warned by people who are stitching this. It's much bigger. Again, it looks like a simple design, but it's really pretty, and it's much bigger than you think it is. All right. Okay. This is a one-eye project I won from a giveaway from Sambry Stitches. So this is the Crosswind Collection. I had a lovely idea in my mind that I was going to dye my own fabric for this, but who am I kidding? I'm not that brave a lot of the time. So I instead I call it my LNS, but it's next county down south, Brick City cross stitch. I bought, this is a printed fabric from Fabric Flare. So they had a sale. So this is called Linen something Sky. No, it's called Linen Sky. Okay. So just, yeah, obviously it's a printed fabric, as all Fabric Flares are. So it's white in the back, but I just thought this would, you know, if it has that literally a sky feeling, and I think it goes very well with that project. Okay, the next one is a giveaway I won from Threads Entwined, and she, I think not in 2020, but in 2019, she would, in the lead up to Christmas, and I think it was Christmas, she would every day say, tell me what your favorite chart is in my store, and I will have a giveaway for that. And I was lucky enough to win one, so I had chosen Spring Delivery by Madame Chantilly. And I'm doing it on this gray fabric from Fortnite Fabrics called Round Trip. It's a 32 count even weave. Oops. So that's what I'm doing. You know, I you know, Trish used to have a brick and mortar, and then she moved to she had an online and brick and mortar, and then she moved to a online shop only. It sounds like she is closing down the store. I purchased it from her several times. Really loved her selection and her customer service, and so I really do wish her the best in her future endeavors. Okay. Next one, it was a giveaway I won from Hot Stitch. It's Little House Needleworks. Brave Hearts. Okay, that's the name of it. So there it is. And this is a 18 count Ada from Dames of the Needle called, and it's aged Saffron. So there's the color. A very nice Ada. Okay. All right, and then this is a quick welcome from Leela's Studio. And Kim, the Contented Stitcher, has this up on her wall. And when she does, you know, I have one cross stitch up here. She's got just beautiful wall, just, you can barely see the wall because of all of her cross stitch. It's amazing. Quaker Welcome she often has up there from time to time, and I had this in my stash already, but just, again, like most things, when you see something stitched, it looks even more beautiful than what you can see in the picture. And so she inspired me to put this out as a potential one. And so I am doing this on a 32 count Lugana. This is Honey from the Stitch Me. Okay. And now I'm starting to see how my things got a little disordered. And so this is one of the ones I am most definitely starting in December. This is Sunset Koala from Cross Stitch Studio. It is a full coverage. I, however, like everyone else I've seen stitching this, I am not stitching white. I am not doing it on a white fabric. I am doing it on 22 count ivory Ada. So just, a neutral color, but I didn't quite want that white. And this was one, I don't know if he commissioned to have it done or they just asked him for a request, but Darren from Dizzy Stitcher, he was the one who worked with the Cross Stitch Studio on coming up with that pattern, and then he's doing a stitch along in his Facebook group. It started in August, so I am way behind the times, but that's okay. I will get it started when I get it started, and it's a very large piece, so no one is racing to get it done. There's one person who has done quite a bit, and it looks amazing, but most people are like, maybe they have an ear done. And it's really a start along, it's not a stitch along. Okay. The next one I have here, this is one, this is from the world of cross stitch, and it's this lantern. It is done on a red petty point. I am not a huge fan of petty point. I think it actually works really well in this one because it gives the image of snow, but it's not my favorite look. And I was looking around for some red fabric, and again, not a lot of places have what I needed. And then Brandy from Bestitch Me, or I believe this is the October fabric. This is what she had. It's called Cardinal, and this I didn't even bother to put this one on a comic book board. It just went straight into the project. So I'm really excited about having a chance to start that one. And this one, I don't know if I will definitely start it in December, but I will probably use one of my freebies for that, because for the Magazine Monthly Challenge, one of the themes is music, and there are bells on that, and they create music, so that's what I will do. Okay. I can almost see the bottom of my bag. Okay, so the next one, and this is when my printer was on the fritz, but this is from Sapphire Mountain Handcrafts. You probably know her most for the Stitching Book Club, but she does on her Etsy store have other patterns. Again, the colors on this are not what the colors of the pattern are at all. They're much more muted because clearly one of my ink colors wasn't there. But this is called The Special Ingredient is Love. Just kidding, it's cat hair. In my house, that is so true. That's just a cute little small. And I have this sort of flecked Ada that I won in a giveaway from Leslie Hurley from Fat Cat Flossing. Or Fat Cat Flosses, I'm not entirely sure. Okay. Found another one of my, I am definitely working on this one. This is one of my starts that I am doing, most definitely in December. And this is from the Isnik and Delft pottery. So I have mentioned before, I lived in Istanbul for 3 years, and Isnik pottery is, the cover photo here is, what I think of with Isnik pottery. There are other styles as well that go, they've got throughout. This is a thick book, you can see. I actually have been, Iznik is a town in Turkey that's on the Sea of Marmara. I've actually been to the town, which, as you can imagine, is full of little stores selling pottery, but it's not really, it's off the beaten track. But my husband and I went there one day. The irony is that while this is what I think of Iznik, pottery, and I have a lot of Isnik pottery. I don't have anything with this design on it, but I really wanted to do like the cover photo, and again, they're just, if you go through the project gallery in this book, there's just tons and tons of things, and you can do like different frames and put different things in the center. And Delft, I think as many people know as well, is Dutch pottery, so famous for its blue and white. But she just, she has, so you can mix and match borders and frames and do all of that kind of stuff. So that's sort of what she goes through there. But this is what I want to do. And when I saw this fabric at Brick City Cross Stitch, I had to have it for this piece. This is a 32 count Lagana called Moon. And it's, I don't even know how, it's, I guess, a sort of almost silver colored. And to me, I originally was looking for like a white with like a sheen of green, because that's sort of what I think about when I think about sort of glazed pottery. But when I saw this color, I was like, this is perfect. And so once I bought it, I'm like, I have to start this. And this was one of these projects that I didn't want to rush. I wanted to make sure I had the right fabric for it. And so when I found it, I was like, that's it, starting it. Next one I have, and I think I only have one left after this. This is a Joan Elliott piece called Water Goddess. And I have, there's a lot of amazing Joan Elliott's. She does certainly a lot more than Pretty Ladies, but I just love all the blues and stuff in this. And this is another fabric flare that I got on sale from Brick City. So it's a 32 count Lagana, and the color is Pond. So there. I thought that would go well with this pattern. I'm going to get her Flosstube name wrong. Danny, Needlecraft Danny. She's working on a Cinderella piece from Joan Elliott, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So it's nice. I love my Miras, but it's sometimes nice to have a pretty lady who's just a little bit different than that. And I'm showing you how much I love my Miras. The last piece I am going to show you is also a Mira. If I can get it out. There it is. This is Crystal Symphony. This is actually, I think, an older Mira. I purchased it this past year, but I think it is an older pattern. Obviously, it's not out of print if I could buy it new. And I am doing this, surprise, surprise, on Fortnite fabric, a gray piece. And this is called End Dragon, 32 count even weave from Fortnite Fabrics. Another beautiful mottled gray piece. I was in the gray, or 12 months of gray, I think is what they call it, fabric club. It's ending at the end of December. I have to say, all beautiful fabrics, and I do like stitching on gray, but I have a lot of gray fabric now. And they for their clubs, they do annual subscriptions, so you have to sign up every year because they change the color lines. So really enjoyed getting their fabrics, but I'm looking forward to moving on to a different colorway than gray. Anyhow, that is all I have to show you. This has gone on for over an hour. So I hope that maybe some of you were inspired by some of the things that you saw here. Maybe you'll go into your stash and pull out stuff. And again, I am not starting all of these. I'm not starting most of these. But my attitude is that I have the pattern and I have the fabric. I might as well pair them together and put them as a possible start. If it requires me to buy fancy floss and it's getting towards the top of the list, I'll go out and buy the fancy floss. But if it's just requiring DMC, I will just match the pattern with a fabric and go from there. And even for like my Miras, I will buy maybe the fancy floss for it, but they're mostly DMC, and so I haven't bought the beads or the Krynic to go with it, because if the wheel spin doesn't come up and I don't get that, I'll invest in the beads when I get closer to the time of actually working on the project. And I don't know how many I'll start. I think I have 7, if I counted correctly, 7 starts that I definitely will do. And the question is just how many other days do I spin the wheel? I probably will not start more than 1 a day. I did start more than one a day in the lead up to 2021 because I decided to join No New Starts like on December 1st, and we had to have our album completed by December 13th last year. And so it was, and I had some things I really, really wanted to start. This year I'm taking a much more relaxed approach. I have so many projects that I'm working on right now. If I don't start it now and it really calls to me later, great. I'll have freebies, and I think you start the year with a freebie, and if you keep up with your albums, that's 2 more freebies, and then if you finish a project, you can use that slot to pull something in. Although I don't like, if I finish a small, I don't get to pull out, you know, a massive full coverage. But anyhow, it's just sort of something that keeps me engaged, and I sort of like having things at least partially kitted up, and that way, if for some reason I say I really want to have a new start, I don't have to start from scratch. I've got it there. Also, starting things is not my favorite thing. I find that I don't suffer from anxiety or anything like that, but for me, that getting the first stitches into the correct place for me is not my favorite part of the process, because I want, you know, I think all of us sort of wonder, do I have enough fabric for this? And, you know, I will have a project and it'll be in a Q-snap, and I know I've got tons of fabric going each direction, and then all of a sudden I'll be like, you know, I'll be a couple thousand stitches into it, and I'm like, did I orient this right on the fabric? And I'll take it out of Q-snap and I'll be like, yeah, it's oriented right. But like, I have those sort of things. And so for me, getting a lot of new starts out of the way, even if I don't put many stitches into it during the year, it still means that sort of the worst part of the process for me is over, if that makes sense. But anyhow, I've gone on and on. If you stuck it till here, thank you. Stuck it till the end, thank you very much. I will probably do my next video in 2 weeks or so, maybe a little bit less, and that will be a whip parade. And I will hopefully do that before the end of No New Starts, because I don't want to show you a bunch of projects that only have 200 stitches in them for my new starts. But until my next video, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for your comments, and I look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks. Bye-bye.